Hello?
Hello, this is Dustin Wilmus calling from KMSU Radio.
Hey, what's happening?
Is this Chip Fu?
Yes, it is.
How you doing, man?
I'm great.
Awesome. I'm here with my co-host, Ton.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Not much, hanging out, talking to you.
All right, that's what's up.
The man.
Well, if you got some time, we have some questions here for you.
Sure. Got the time?
Excellent. Well, first of all, when did you get started rapping?
Well, I actually started rapping at age, I want to say 10, actually. I used to actually try to emulate my brother, you know, because he was into it a little something. But I actually started putting pen to paper at that age.
Okay. When did the Fu-Schnickens get formed then?
The whole Fu-Schnickens thing formed a lot later than that, like around when I was, I want to say 18. The whole group had formed. Mock and Pac actually went to high school together, and they had formed the group, and I was the last person to actually get into the group. You know, they were practicing one day in the backyard, and I walked by and I asked them what they were doing, and they said, come in the back. I came in the back, and he heard me and was like, nah, you got to get down with the crew. So that's how that whole situation happened as far as the Fu-Schnickens coming together.
Just kind of started in the backyard, huh?
Yep.
That's awesome. What was it like, I don't know if you want to expand on before you got with the group or even in the early days with the group, but what was that like? I mean, were you rapping around town, or how was it like getting gigs, or was it just like you were hanging out in the backyard the whole time?
Well, the majority of the time I was, they had these sound systems in Brooklyn, you know, these West Indian sound systems where there's a lot of Jamaican DJs would come down and perform, like Shinehead and all these other older reggae artists would come down. And at these sound systems I actually used to go to. And I was like the youngest one that used to go there and get on the mic or whatever the case. So at a younger age, people did rate me as a good artist. But, you know, it wasn't like I could take it seriously at that time because I was still young. That was like 11 going on 12. You know, so at that particular point in time, I just kept honing my skills until I was able to actually go to different clubs and actually get on stage. And then when I was finally at a point in time when they started doing a lot of open mic events at Wetlands in the city, you know, is when I basically joined all the contests that they had. Like they had reggae competitions and they had hip-hop competitions, and I'd sign my name on both of them and start winning both of the competitions they had. So that's when everything just started buzzing up before the whole group situation.
Well, when you were in the Fu-Schnickens, how did you guys decide on the unique style that you guys, you know, did the rapping backwards thing, which was kind of unheard of at that time, and
right.
Kung Fu film references and all that sort of thing. How did you guys wind up with that?
The whole Kung Fu reference thing came from, like when we used to watch the karate movies, we noticed that, you know, when it came to particular styles, they were determined to learn the style. So that's why we adopted the karate G's, because you know, every record that we made, we tried to master a particular style, or I introduced a particular style. The whole rhyming backwards thing came from the Sunday papers. There was this thing in the Sunday papers where you would have to write there was particular letters that were circled, and you had to write the letters that were circled, and the only way you could read them is if you showed them in the mirror. So I was like, you know something, I'm going to write in that direction and write lyrics in that direction. So I wrote lyrics in that direction, and years later, after we put out the album, I think like a year later, these people from Germany came down with this machine that could actually, if you talk into the machine, that it would say it backwards for you. So they had it like, well, if you can go up against this machine, then you'll know if you're really rhyming backwards. So, you know, long story short, I went up against the machine, and they found out that I could actually do it. You know what I mean? And then they started, that same company came up with this toy called Backchat, which was a pen that you talk into and it'd say it backwards, and then you repeat it forwards, and then it'd say it, you know, whatever.
Whoa.
I think I remember those, actually.
Yeah.
That's funny. You beat the machine.
Beat the machine, dude.
That's awesome.
Well, who would you say were some of your influences?
My influences, I want to say Slick Rick, KRS-One, Grand Poobah, and that'll be it for hip-hop. On the reggae side, I'd say Shinehead. This sound system out of England called Saxon, and Barrington Levy.
Okay. Did you guys think that you were, with all the different styles and the backwards rhyming and that, you were really kind of ahead of your time? Do you think that cost you any commercial success, or maybe the hip hop community wasn't ready for a group like you guys, or?
I didn't think it did. I think we garnered enough attention. You know what I mean? And the funny part about it now is when I sit down, and I think I was reading something like last week where there was some girl who did something where she rhymed backwards or whatever, and these guys were going crazy over it. And I started laughing at everything that I did people are doing now. So it's kind of easier for me now because I know the formula. I think these people are now bumping into stuff like that, or at least trying to be different because of how the game is. I mean, commercial success, I think because of what we did, it got the attention of a lot of people because a lot of people were not doing what we were doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
At the same time, I think moving on as a group, a lot of people are like, all right, this kid got all these styles or whatever the case may be, and when new music came in, it's like, how could you match these styles with what's happening? I think it did what it did for its time, and, you know, it came back around to it now, kind of, sort of, so it's all good.
So you were kind of like the innovator of that sort of style for these people now. Maybe they, like that little girl might not know it, but someday she'll figure it out.
Nah, she'll figure it out soon, because they was tweeting about it, and some guy was like, the first person to do that was me, and twittered my name, so all I did, I'm just going to sit back and just watch everybody's reaction to everything and wait for everybody else to say the truth, and that's it.
When you guys were in the midst of, like I said, it was in the mid-'90s, right? And you guys started working with Shaq. What was the story behind that?
Well, I found out that the whole Shaquille O'Neal thing came when somebody said that I was his favorite MC. And I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not into sports or stuff like that. I'm the dude that's into everything else. I'm the nerdy dude. The whole sports thing wasn't me, but then the other group members was like, you know, Shaq, you know, first round draft pick, da-da-da-da-da, you know. And I was like, okay. You know, we went down and we met him. And I still didn't know, you know, why everybody was going on the way they were going on. But then I think it was a good thing for me because everything that he and I did, it came from a good place because it wasn't about money. It wasn't about what he was doing because I could care less. I didn't know anything about basketball or whatever. I never followed it, you know.
Yeah.
But to see that when he got into the booth and he was like, I wrote my own verse, I was like, okay, cool. And he said his verse, I was like, wow, you know, I didn't know basketball players could, you know, take it as serious as he did. And another thing people don't know is that he can actually DJ. He had a DJ set up in his house, everything. So this guy is serious about the craft, very.
Yeah, I suppose some people really didn't give him a chance considering his basketball background, but
right. I think that when he did what he did, it kind of ushered in all the other basketball players to try to do what they do, which was Kobe and a lot of other MCs from India. The whole NBA was trying to do their thing, but the only person that sold records was Shaq, actually.
Yeah. It's kind of an odd question. I know you mentioned that you weren't a real big fan of sports, but you guys have a lot of pro wrestling references in a lot of your rhymes. Are you a fan of pro wrestling? Or?
Man, I love wrestling. I think that's what I think that's what did it for me. Like wrestlers to me were like superheroes, and I'm one of those kids that used to just read comics like hella crazy. So just seeing wrestlers on TV, you know, it helped me to develop my persona basically, which is the whole Chip Fu thing. It was like, you know, once I put on that karate suit or whatever the case may be, I become this dude. But, you know, as you get older, it's like, yeah, that's garbage. But, you know, and it kind of hurt my feelings when I found out that everything was kind of fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After some years went by, I was like, oh, so for real, he's not really getting slammed on his head. Okay, they have to practice that. Okay. But, I mean, I respect the sport, though, still.
Yeah. Yeah, we're big wrestling fans, and it's when we listen to your albums and, you know, you reference, like, Randy Savage or Tito Santana or something, we just think that's great.
Yeah. Those are my dudes. The Iron Sheik, going back to them.
Yeah.
People know about the Iron Sheik or whatever the case may be. When you say the Iron Sheik, they're like, what? I'm like, are you serious? Well, Ivan Pushti, if you can go farther back to Ivan Pushti, that's wrestling right there. If I say that to my son, he'd be like, okay, Dad. You know?
Oh, that's awesome.
You didn't think maybe the Polish Hammer could defeat John Cena?
Any day, man. I mean, John Cena, it's cool, but John Cena's pretty huge. I mean, the way in which these wrestlers are today, I don't know what they juicing up on, but dudes is pretty big. I mean, muscular to us back then wasn't really that muscular, but now it's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's all different.
Well, do you know are you comfortable discussing the reasons behind the breakup when the Fu-Schnickens kind of dissolved? Or?
Sure. It got to a point where the record company wanted us to do, because of the mainstream success, they wanted us to kind of be too jazzy, Jeff Fresh Prince like, and that was not me. I figured, we did what we did to garner the attention that we got, and just let us be us. So when it got to that point, there was a lack of communication between artists and record company. And at that point, the only way to actually get out the contract was for the group to break up. There's still a lot of groups today that are signed to Jive that can't drop records, like are literally signed because, that contract was one of the worst contracts. So the only way for us to get out the contract was to break up as a group. When we broke up as a group, we were like, something, this doesn't make any sense to move forward. Music is changing, so we just kept it as is and just left it, the way in which it was.
And how do you feel about kind of the way hip hop has changed over the years and what the scene is today?
I don't want to sound like the mad rapper, so I just think that it's become more business, and the love for the art form is just gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that it needs to be more balance in it so people can understand it more. But if it's one-sided and they only skin one side of it, that one side may be the false side that they're learning from. Like, if you sit down and ask Lil Wayne a couple of questions about who was the first to do A, B, C, and D, he couldn't answer you. And these kids are being raised on that, like, yo, Lil Wayne is the first so-and-so. And I'm like, are you serious? If you're going to get into the history, this whole game, you need to know the history. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing that bothers me. It's more business, yes, and people are making money, but they need to at least, reinvest into the culture, and that's it.
So is there an album that you're working on, or are you still involved in hip-hop?
Yes. I formed my own company called Black Ink Entertainment. We do a lot of videos. It's a production company also, and the first album that we're working on is my album called War Paint, which should be dropping in April. A lot of producers that I'm happy about that's on the album. A lot of people reached out to me and was like, finally, you're doing an album. People need to hear you, and I'm just ready to do what I have to do.
Yeah, after the Fu-Schnickens broke up, did you just kind of go on furlough, or were you doing other things? Or
when the group broke up, I just decided I kept writing, actually. Was doing some writing for some other people. I went back to school and did the whole physical therapy thing, did the whole Reiki mastery thing, deep tissue massage. But while I was doing that, I was still touring overseas. So, I kind of stayed away from everything, but, I was still, studying what I had to study, and I was still writing. So, when producers are handing me tracks, it was easy for me to, just get back into that mode.
So you're going to be coming back to reclaim your throne here.
Nah, I don't even want that throne. If there's ever a throne that's there.
No thrones.
I just want people to understand, that there needs to be a balance in music, and I know that basically me coming back, I will be looked upon as the underdog, which is kind of cool because I'm going to shock a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Well, cool, man. Do you have any parting words for us before we let you go?
Thanks for interviewing me. And that's basically it. The name of the album is called War Paint. It'll be out in April. Look for it, and that's basically it.
All right, man. Well, thanks a lot.
No problem, man.
We're definitely true Fu-Schnicks, so we're waiting for the new stuff to drop.
I appreciate that, man. Definitely.
All right, well, have a good one. Thanks a lot for talking with us.
No problem. You guys take care.
All right, bye.
Peace.